Have you ever wondered why it's so difficult for you to change certain habits of yours, even though you try really hard? Have you ever felt super motivated to get in better shape, change your diet, be more productive, only to give up after just a few days? Have you ever promised yourself to wake up early every morning, only to remind yourself that you're not a morning person, and hence never succeeding? Hello everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode on my channel, Wonder Boho Book Club. Today I'll be summarizing the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. James Clear is an American writer, businessman, and mentor. In this book he has shown how building small habits over time can reap huge benefits in the long run. He starts by describing how an unfortunate baseball accident during his high school years had almost crushed his hopes of playing professional baseball ever again, and how cultivating small habits regarding studying, exercising, tidying up, etc. enabled him not only to excel at baseball at the university, but also at becoming a successful businessman and writer later in life. In the first chapter, the author states that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. That is, if we continue or repeat certain habits, be it positive or negative, over the years, their effects tend to multiply. Also, we should be more concerned with the direction of our habits than the end results. For example, if we consume junk food regularly, in spite of working out, our habits are leading us in a bad direction. On the other hand, if we are able to save a little money every month in spite of our limited income, then we would be able to achieve financial freedom in the long run. In fact, the outcomes of our actions are long-term effects of our habits. Time plays a significant role in solidifying our habits. Good habits benefit us in the long run, whereas bad habits have a negative impact over the years. Hence, it's important for us to understand the mechanisms and psychology behind habit formation and how to use it to maximize our potential. According to the author, when we start a new habit, we often get demotivated in the initial stages, as there is almost no tangible progress in the early phases of the habit formation. However, once we reach a critical threshold, which the author terms as the plateau of latent potential, by way of persistence and perseverance, progress comes in leaps and bounds. The author says that one of the main reasons why we fail to persist in our habits is because we tend to focus more on goals and less on the systems. Goal is the final outcome we are hoping to achieve, whereas system is the method or process through which we plan to achieve the goal. Being goal-focused instead of systems-focused could be detrimental in the long run for the following reasons. Problem number 1. We often tend to think that only winners have goals, losers don't have goals. This is incorrect. Winners and losers might have the very same goals to begin with. What really makes the difference is the system of continuous small improvements that they implement in order to achieve these goals. Problem number 2. Achieving a goal is only a momentary change. For example, we might have a goal of losing weight, and we might even be able to achieve it. But if we continue eating junk food, then soon we'll be back to square one, essentially chasing the same goal over and over again. Hence, we need to tackle the issue at the systems level. Problem number 3. Goals restrict our happiness. The implicit assumption behind any goal is this: once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy. The problem with the goals first mentality is that we are continually putting happiness off until we achieve the goal. Instead, if we manage to start enjoying the process of continuous improvement itself, we don't need to wait to be happy until we reach that goal. The journey itself becomes the source of happiness, not the outcome. Problem number 4. Goals are at odds with long-term progress. Finally, a goal-oriented mindset can create a yo-yo effect, which means that once we achieve a certain goal, there is no further motivation to push us forward, thereby making it easy to lapse back to our old habits. Long-term success is not about any single accomplishment. It is about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. In the second chapter, the author delineates 3 levels of change: outcome change, process change, and identity change. While change based on outcome is focused on what we want to achieve, and change based on process is focused on how we want to achieve, change based on identity is who we wish to become. Identity-based change is often the most sustainable change, as changing our identity means changing our core perspectives and beliefs, not only about ourselves, but also our society, environment, etc., which also makes it the most challenging way to change. We might decide to change some habits based on what we want to achieve: goal, lose weight, start a business, etc., or how we want to achieve, systems. But if the change is incongruent with our core identity, then it will not last in the long run. Our subconscious mind, which controls most of our behavior, will not accept any change at the superficial level, and soon will revert back to our old habits. In order to become the best version of ourselves, we need to continuously upgrade and expand our beliefs, thereby evolving our identity. In order to change at the identity level, we should follow a 2-step approach. A. Decide the type of person we want to be. And B. Prove it to ourselves with small wins. Decide the person we want to be. In order for change to take place at the deepest level, we need to ask ourselves not what we want to achieve or how we want to achieve, but who we wish to become. For example, instead of thinking, I want to lose weight, we should ask the question, what kind of person can lose weight? Perhaps someone who's consistent, reliable, and motivated. Hence, our focus shifts from outcome-based, that is, losing weight, to identity-based, consistent, reliable, motivated. According to the author, the habit formation process goes through 4 steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. It's a feedback loop that helps us recognize the actions and behaviors that reward us in a positive way, thus helping our neural circuits to memorize it, by way of repetition to the level that the habit becomes automatic or unconscious. Cue is an action or event, whether happening externally or done by us. Craving is the emotions, feelings, or internal state of being related to the cue. Response is the actual action we take to satisfy the craving. Reward is the satisfaction or dissatisfaction derived from the action. If the reward is satisfaction, then it is regarded as positive and gets associated with the cue. Example: Cue: the alarm rings at 5 a.m. Craving: I want to meditate for half an hour. Response: I get up and get ready for meditation. Reward: getting up satisfies my craving for meditation. Hence, getting up gets associated with the alarm ringing. However, the author admits that it's easier said than done. Hence, he suggests a framework he calls 4 laws of behavior change to reinforce these 4 steps of habit formation, thereby helping form good habits and eliminate bad ones. 4 laws of behavior change. First law: make it obvious. Second law: make it attractive. Third law: make it easy. Fourth law: make it satisfying. First law: make it obvious. Habits are formed through repetition over long periods of time. Most of our habits are carried out by our subconscious mind. If we wish to break an existing habit and form a new one, the first thing to do is to bring the existing habit to awareness, or to our conscious mind. An effective way of doing this is to make a habit scorecard, where we write down our existing habits and mark them positive with a plus sign or negative with a minus sign, depending on whether these habits are in alignment with the identity we wish to embody. Calling out and pointing out habits also help bring them to awareness. Example: if you are in the habit of snoozing the alarm when it rings at 5 a.m. and go back to sleep, when you're about to snooze it the next time, say out loud, "Going back to sleep means I will miss out on my meditation," which will bring the negative habit to your awareness and would help you overcome it. The author suggests another useful technique to incorporate new habits into our lives. Termed as habit stacking, it simply states that rather than trying to form a new habit independently, we should attach or link the new habit with an existing one, so that the existing habit itself acts as a cue to perform the new habit. Example: if you want to make the habit of reading before going to bed, you can implement habit stacking as, "When I go to bed, I will finish reading 1 chapter of a book every night." Being specific is really important here, otherwise the cue might be too vague and not strong enough to elicit action. It's imperative that we include time and location of the action while habit stacking. Next, the author states the significance of the environment in habit formation. For humans, vision or sight is the strongest sensory ability. Out of 11 million sensory receptors in the human body, about 10 million are dedicated to sight. Hence, he suggests that we make visual cues as obvious as possible in order to reinforce positive habits. In fact, we can place multiple cues or triggers in our environment to make sure a certain action is repeated by bringing it to our awareness, and the desired habit is formed. Conversely, if we want to discontinue an existing habit, we should make the cues or triggers as subtle or obscure as possible. Sometimes, rather than a specific trigger, the context of the behavior itself acts as the cue. Certain habits are also related to certain places. The author suggests that we should be aware of the relationships between contexts or places and certain habits. If we are trying to form a new habit and the existing place or context has a strong relationship to an existing habit we are trying to get rid of, then we should try to change the place first. If that's not entirely possible, we should at least try to rearrange the space so that it becomes conducive to fostering the desired habit. Developing new habits in a new environment is much easier than developing new habits in existing competing environments. Example: if you are currently using your dining table as your writing table, and you have the habit of watching TV sitting at the dining table, then, if you're not able to afford space for a separate writing table, at least single out a chair and a small desk where you can write. This way, the desk and chair become associated with writing, while the dining table remains associated with eating and watching TV. It's important to mention here that habits can be broken, but it's unlikely to be forgotten completely. When certain situations arise, or certain triggers are present in the environment, a long discontinued habit might reassert itself. Hence, habit is not a matter of self-control. Rather, it's a product of the environment we live in. For example, if someone who's trying to quit smoking is constantly surrounded by friends and people who smoke, then it will be difficult for him to quit smoking, no matter how much self-control he might have. If we remove the cues that prompt a bad habit, then the habit will not occur. Second law: make it attractive. Human beings are conditioned by stimuli to feel motivated to take action. The stronger the stimuli, the bigger the probability of taking action. We eat junk food because it rewards our primitive unconscious craving for salt, sugar, and fat at a heightened level as compared to what normal food does. Also, dopamine plays an important role in habit formation. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a significant role in several neurological processes, such as experiencing pain and pleasure, learning and memory, motivation, etc. When a stimulus triggers us to take action and reward is experienced, dopamine is released. Interestingly, dopamine is released not only while experiencing the reward, but also while expecting the reward. Hence, making a habit more attractive by placing enticing cues in our environment is crucial, as these cues will increase our anticipation of reward, leading to release of dopamine, which will further lead to desire to take action. In this regard, the author suggests a technique called temptation bundling to make new habits more attractive. Temptation bundling means that we link a habit we need to perform with one we want to perform. For example, you like watching Netflix, something you want to do, but you also need to work out more, something you need to do. Solution? You turn on Netflix while working out in the gym or at home. Next, the author talks about the social groups that influence our habits on a deep level. He delineates 3 social groups: the close, the many, and the powerful, and explains how each of these groups influence our behavior. The close social group refers to the people we are close to: family, friends, co-workers, etc. Since we spend considerable time of our lives around these people, their habits and personalities tend to influence us. For example, if you're ambivalent about smoking, and most of your close friends and colleagues are smokers, chances are that you will become a smoker too. The many group refers to the community or society we live in. Human beings are social animals and have a tendency to want to belong to a group or tribe. In order to gain acceptance by the tribe, we sometimes override our natural instincts or suppress our inborn talents, even try to appear mediocre, just to blend in. The powerful social group refers to the people we admire and envy. These people, with high social status, command approval, praise, and respect from others. Conversely, we don't want others to criticize us. Therefore, we tend to avoid habits that might lower our status in the community. One of the most effective things we can do to build better habits is A. To join a culture where your desired habit is the norm or normal behavior, and B. To make sure you already have something in common with the group. For example, you love watching sci-fi movies, and you want to build the habit of reading more sci-fi books. Solution? Join a sci-fi book club, and for sure you'll find other sci-fi movie lovers there. Next, the author speaks of our motivation behind each behavior and habit. He says that behind each desire or craving lies the attempt to address the fundamental underlying motives, which are obtaining food and water, conserving energy, gaining love and mating opportunities, bonding socially with fellow humans, obtaining social status and approval, etc. A craving is just a specific manifestation of a deeper underlying motive. Also, our behavior is heavily dependent on how we interpret certain events that happen to us, not necessarily the objective reality of those events. These interpretations, or predictions of future events based on the past experience, give rise to feelings, whether positive or negative, which in turn lead to craving or desire. If prediction of an event gives us positive feelings, and we anticipate reward, then we feel a craving to perform a certain action, and eventually form a new habit. Conversely, negative feelings will deter us from taking action. An effective way of reprogramming our brain to make difficult habits more attractive is by highlighting their benefits rather than their drawbacks. Similarly, highlighting the benefits of avoiding a bad habit will make the habit unattractive. Another effective way is creating a motivation ritual. A motivation ritual is where we do something we enjoy immediately before performing a difficult habit. For example, we might put on our headphones and listen to music we really enjoy just before focusing on our studies. Third law, make it easy. The author now speaks of the difference between being in motion and taking action. While being in motion means planning, learning, or strategizing to do something, taking action means actually doing that thing. Being in motion can be useful sometimes, but it never produces an actual result. Only taking action can produce results. For example, we might read some articles and watch videos about the right way to exercise and think that we are progressing, but in reality, we are only being in motion. Until we actually go to the gym and start exercising on a regular basis, we can't expect to see any tangible result. The author says that the main reason why we are often in motion without taking action is because we like to trick ourselves into feeling that we are making progress without running the risk of failure. Motion might make us feel like we are getting things done, but really, we are just preparing to get things done. Hence, the key to mastering a habit is to focus on repetition, not perfection. Research in neuroscience has shown that repeating a habit leads to clear physical changes in the brain. The more we repeat an activity, the more the structure of our brain changes to become efficient at that activity. With each repetition, cell-to-cell signaling improves and the neural connections tighten. Each time we repeat an action, we are activating a particular neural circuit associated with that habit. For example, in musicians, the cerebellum, critical for physical movements like plucking a guitar string or pulling a violin bow, is larger than it is in non-musicians. Mathematicians, meanwhile, have increased gray matter in the inferior parietal lobule, which plays a key role in computation and calculation. Hence, instead of focusing on the time needed to form a new habit, we should focus on the frequency at which the action should be performed to form a new habit. Our current habits have become ingrained within us because of hundreds or thousands of repetitions. Forming new habits requires a similar frequency. The author then talks about the law of least effort, which simply states that we as humans have an innate tendency to conserve energy, and hence we always gravitate towards the option that involves least amount of effort. Habits can be seen as frictions or obstacles to obtaining something. When we form a habit, it's not the habit itself that we are interested in, rather the outcome it delivers. More the friction to form a new habit, the less we are motivated to do it. Hence, an effective way to reinforce good habits is to reduce the friction to perform them. Performing the new habits should be as easy as possible, involving as little effort as possible. Conversely, if we increase the friction in performing a bad habit, we become demotivated to do it. We can also prime our environment for future actions, thereby eliminating friction the next time we do something and encouraging repetition, ultimately leading to habit formation. Another effective way of fostering new habits is following the 2-minute rule. Every day we face some decisive moments in our lives, that is, moments which decide how we are going to spend the next minutes or hours. For example, when we come back home from work, we face the decisive moment of whether to go to the gym or watch TV on the couch. Making either choice will decide how we spend the next hour or two. When we find following a new habit challenging, we should break it down to several phases. The first phase should be easy and take less than 2 minutes to do. For example, if we want to form the habit of working out every evening, we should internalize the first step of changing into our workout clothes and shoes, which should take less than 2 minutes. Once we have done this, our mind tells us to take the next step, which is going out and starting exercising. Once we get habituated with the first step, the rest also becomes easy to follow. Inversion of the third law. We can make our bad habits more difficult to follow by creating a commitment device. A commitment device is a choice we make in the present that controls our actions in the future. It's a way to lock in future behaviors, bind ourselves to good habits, and restrict from bad ones. For example, if you're planning to get into the habit of working out, pay a yoga teacher or personal trainer 1 month in advance, thereby binding yourself to the commitment of working out. If you decide to cancel the sessions, it might lead to your money being forfeited. In this case, getting out of the habit becomes more difficult than to follow through. Also, using technology to automate our habits is the most effective way to ensure the right behavior. Fourth law, make it satisfying. The first 3 laws of behavior change, make it obvious, make it attractive, and make it easy, increase the odds that a behavior will be performed this time. The 4th law of behavior change, make it satisfying, increases the odds that a behavior will be repeated next time. The human brain has evolved in a way such that it values instant rewards more than delayed rewards. We are more likely to repeat a behavior when the experience is instantly satisfying. The cardinal rule of behavior change states that what is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. As it happens, most of the good habits produce delayed rewards while seeming to have no immediate satisfaction. On the other hand, most of the bad habits deliver immediate satisfaction while proving to be harmful in the long run. In order to make a desirable habit stick, we need to make it immediately rewarding, even if in a small way. For example, when we begin working out, the initial days or weeks don't produce any noticeable result, which might demotivate us from continuing working out. In order to stick to the habit, we might consider treating ourselves to a body massage after the workout, which is an immediate gratification as a result of the workout performed. Gradually, as we get more aligned with the identity we wish to embody, the need for the secondary gratification diminishes and the habit itself becomes the reward. Sticking to good habits every day. As mentioned before, visual cue is the strongest cue to create a craving or desire. Hence, creating a habit tracker which provides us visual progress on a daily or weekly basis can be very effective in motivating us to stick to our habits. The most common form of habit tracker is a calendar, where you can mark each day with an X once you have completed a certain action. We can avail of numerous digital trackers nowadays, thanks to technology. Using trackers also helps reinforcing the laws of behavior change. Habit tracking is obvious. Habit tracking, such as marking X on the calendar each day, provides us with strong visual cues, which remind us to repeat the action the next day. Habit tracking is attractive. Habit tracking provides visual proof of your hard work, a subtle reminder of how far you have come. When we get a signal that we are moving forward, we become more motivated to continue down that path. Habit tracking is satisfying. This is the most crucial benefit of all. Tracking can become its own form of reward. Habit tracking also helps you stay focused on the process rather than the result. Furthermore, habit tracking provides visual proof that you are casting votes for the identity you wish to embody, which is a delightful form of immediate and intrinsic gratification. Habit tracking can be made easier by automating it as much as possible. Also, each measurement should be recorded immediately after the habit occurs. While tracking habits, we should pay attention to both quantitative and qualitative measures. Inversion of the fourth law. The inversion of the fourth law of behavior change is to make it unsatisfying. When we add an immediate cost to a bad habit, the chances of repeating that habit diminishes significantly. This can be done using a habit contract. A habit contract is a verbal or written agreement in which you state your commitment to a particular habit and the punishment that will occur if you don't follow through. A habit contract can be used to add a social cost to any behavior. It makes the costs of violating your promises public and painful. An accountability partner can create an immediate cost to inaction. We care deeply about what others think of us, and we do not want others to have a lesser opinion of us. Knowing that someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator. One of the best ways to ensure your habits remain satisfying over the long run is to pick behaviors that align with your personality and skills. The secret to maximizing your odds of success is to choose the right field of competition. Pick the right habit and progress is easy. Pick the wrong one and life is a struggle. Genes play a significant role when it comes to our strengths and weaknesses. They provide a powerful advantage in favorable circumstances and a serious disadvantage in unfavorable circumstances. Habits are easier when they align with our natural abilities. Choose the habits that best suit you. Play a game that favors your strengths. If you can't find a game that favors you, create one. Another way to make sure your habits stick is to follow the Goldilocks rule. Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. If the task is too easy, we get bored. If it's too difficult, we get demotivated. Also, the greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. As habits become routine, they become less interesting and less satisfying. We get bored. For example, we might get bored of doing the same exercises every day, even if it improves our health. The only way to succeed here is to fall in love with our boredom. Anyone can work hard when they feel motivated. It's the ability to keep going when work isn't exciting that makes the difference. Finally, the author talks about the downsides of habits. Yes, you heard it right. Habits can have downsides too. While the advantage of habits is that it helps us automate the process and we can do a task without thinking, thereby freeing our conscious mind to focus on other tasks, the disadvantage is that we stop paying attention to the little errors we make. We become so accustomed to the good enough standard that we don't even try to make it better. In order to achieve mastery at anything, we have to internalize the task as well as put deliberate practice into it on a regular basis. Also, it is important for us to reflect on and review our habits periodically, as it allows us to remain conscious of our performance over time. In conclusion, the author states that the holy grail of habit change is not a single 1% improvement, but 1,000 of them. In the beginning, small improvements can often seem meaningless, but gradually, as we continue to layer small changes on top of one another, the scales begin to tip in our favor. Success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve, an endless process to refine. The secret to getting results that last is to never stop making improvements, always looking for the next way to get 1% better. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe. See you soon in our next episode.